Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into the heart of what is, for so many, one of the most remarkable journeys in modern medicine, in vitro fertilization. You know, it's a path that's absolutely filled with hope, a ton of science, and some really profound moments. So in this explainer, we're going to guide you through the three most pivotal stages of the whole process. We'll start with the preparation and egg collection, then we'll peek behind the curtain at the incredible science that happens inside the embryology lab, and finally, we'll walk through that last, hopeful step of the embryo transfer. So let's get started. All right, so our journey begins with the very first and super crucial step, ovarian stimulation. This part actually starts long before any procedures. The goal here is to work with the body's natural cycle, but also to gently encourage it to prepare not just one, but a whole group of eggs for the path ahead. And this slide really shows you the key difference. See, in a typical monthly cycle, your body usually matures and releases just a single egg. But for IVF, we want to increase the odds of success. So by using injectable hormone medications, we can encourage a whole group of eggs to mature all at the same time. This just creates more opportunities for a successful outcome down the line. Now, this is the final piece of the puzzle in the stimulation phase, and it is all about timing. A trigger shot is given to signal the final maturation of the eggs. And when I say the timing is critical, I mean it. It has to be almost exactly 36 hours before the retrieval. This just ensures the eggs are perfectly ready to be collected. So all of this preparation builds up to the main event, the egg retrieval. Now, I know that might sound a little intimidating, but this is actually a really quick, carefully planned, and most importantly, gentle procedure. So how does it actually work? Well, first, you're given sedation to make sure you're completely comfortable and relaxed. Then, using an ultrasound probe for guidance, the doctor can see the ovaries and all the follicles really clearly. And finally, a very, very thin needle is guided through the vaginal wall right to the follicles, where it uses gentle suction to draw out the fluid, and with it, hopefully, a mature egg from each one. And the whole thing is surprisingly fast, usually taking only about 5 to 10 minutes. But in that short window, the team is laser-focused. They work hard to keep the collected eggs at the perfect body temperature, because even a tiny drop can affect them. And the doctor is incredibly thorough. They go into every single follicle they can see. Yep, even the smaller ones, to give every potential egg a chance. And here's a little reassurance, right from a fertility physician. Because the procedure is done so gently and with so much precision, it's actually pretty rare to have significant discomfort afterward. Most people feel a bit of mild achiness or soreness, but it's usually managed very, very easily. So, the retrieval is done. The eggs have been collected. The big question now is, where do they go next? Well, this is where the journey moves from the operating room into the highly specialized world of the embryology lab. Welcome to the lab. I mean, this place is a sterile, precisely temperature-controlled environment where the embryology team starts their incredibly delicate work. Literally everything in here, from the air quality to the equipment, is designed to give the eggs and sperm the absolute best environment to create an embryo. And this is the kind of magic that unfolds over the next 5 days. On day 0, a single sperm is introduced to each mature egg. If that goes well, by day 1, we have what's called a zygote. Then, over the next few days, it just starts dividing from 2 cells to 4, then 8. By day 5, it's developed into this complex structure called a blastocyst. And that's when it's ready for transfer. You know, reaching this more developed stage gives the embryologist a much better idea of the embryo's potential, and it often leads to higher implantation rates. Now, it's also really important to set expectations during this stage. I mean, while the team is hoping every single mature egg will fertilize, the reality is that, on average, only about 70% of them do. This is a totally normal part of the process, and just understanding this sort of drop-off rate is key. And all of this brings us to the final act of the IVF process, the embryo transfer. This is such a profoundly hopeful moment. It's a quick, pretty simple procedure that really represents the culmination of all the steps that came before it. The procedure itself feels a lot like a routine pap smear. A speculum is used to see the cervix, then a super thin, flexible tube called a catheter, which is carrying the embryo, is gently guided through the cervix and into the uterus. And finally, the embryo is gently deposited. The whole thing only takes about 10 minutes. And this is where the physician's skill is just so important. Before the transfer even starts, the doctor actually shapes the catheter to match the unique curve of the patient's uterus. This makes sure it can be inserted smoothly without bumping the uterine walls and helps place the embryo in the absolute perfect spot for implantation. Okay, so the transfer is complete. Now the focus shifts over to recovery and care. Knowing what to expect in the days after the procedures is so key to feeling prepared and in control. So one thing to be aware of, but definitely not alarmed by, is a condition called ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, or OSSS. It's a rare side effect where the body kind of over-responds to the stimulation hormones. This can cause fluid to leak from the blood vessels into the abdomen, which leads to some serious bloating and discomfort. So what should you be looking for? The main signs are significant swelling in your abdomen, really rapid weight gain, we're talking more than 2 or 3 pounds in a single day, persistent nausea, or any shortness of breath. If you feel any of those things, it's really important to call your medical team right away. Now, let's talk about something way more common, but just as uncomfortable: constipation. As you can see here, it's often a mix of things: high progesterone levels, maybe some pain medication, not drinking enough water, and just moving around less. The solutions are really practical. Stay super hydrated, take gentle walks, and try to focus on a diet that's high in protein and electrolytes like sodium and potassium. Those help pull fluid back into your bloodstream where it belongs. And here's one last practical tip. If, for whatever reason, a transfer doesn't happen, or if it isn't successful, just be prepared for your next period to be heavier than you're used to. Those stimulation hormones cause the uterine lining to build up more thickly, so that can lead to a heavier flow and more cramping. Just knowing to expect that can save you a lot of worry. You know, when you think about it, from that very first injection to the final transfer, the IVF journey is really a marathon of these carefully orchestrated steps. It's this incredible mix of science, hope, and resilience where every single phase is a critical milestone that brings you one step closer to your goal. And so the medical procedures come to an end, but the journey itself enters this whole new phase of waiting and hoping. And that brings us to a final thought to leave you with. Beyond all the amazing science we've talked about today, what does it truly take, emotionally and mentally, to prepare for what comes next? We really hope this guide has been helpful for you on your path.